Hey everybody, I want to talk to y'all a little bit about hunting the moon. Now, I've got this moon guide that Adam Hayes endorses, and this is the old Jeff Murray moon guide. There's Adam with a bunch of his bucks that he's killed, and it's kind of, in a way, unfortunate that you got somebody like Adam endorsing the moon guide, because probably 90% of those bucks on the back there that he shows on this moon guide, he's probably killed during the rut, and probably killed with rut tactics and that. In a lot of the country, the season comes in, say like Ohio, October the 1st, and the rut's going to be kicking in just a month later. I mean, so you're almost hunting pre-rut tactics when the season comes in. And when that happens, most people are going to kill their deer right there on the pre-rut, the rut, maybe the post-rut. So they're going to kill their big buck on a rut-based tactic. Now, when you're like myself and you come in, your season comes in October the 15th, and the rut don't start until at the earliest January the 14th. We basically got good 3 months of nothing but food source hunting. And when you got food source hunting, and that's what you're hunting around is feeding patterns, there's nothing better than one of these to go by to time your hunts when you're going to be in the tree stand around the feeding times. Now, you know, a lot of folks say, well, the feeding is more weather oriented, and it is weather oriented. But you can't plan on the weather. If you're planning on vacation, if you got to put in for vacation months ahead of time, or you know, kind of plan around it and try to get in ahead of other folks, you're competing with your vacation time. There's nothing better than one of these, and you want to plan around what on here is the A days. You have on this moon guide, you got A days, you got B days, and you got C days. And then you got 2 times on this particular moon guide. And that's the reason I don't like using just this. I like to incorporate the other guides too that have more than just 2 times. They have the major feeding times, which is the 2 major feeding times is one is when the moon is straight overhead, and one when it's straight underfoot. Now, it hadn't got nothing to do with your ability to see the moon. When the moon's straight overhead at noon in the daytime, trust me, you're not going to be able to see it. You can't look through the sun and see the moon, so to speak. The sun's going to blind you from seeing the moon, but the moon's still up there straight above. And that's a primary feeding time when the moon's straight above. And what I'd call a secondary primary feeding time is when the moon's straight below. But there's other times where the moon's going to influence these quarter moons when they're, you know, it's just coming up or just going down. And those are minor feeding times. So other guides will give you those minor feeding times. But the reason I like to incorporate the old Jeff Murray guide does give you the A, B, and C ratings of each day during those primary times. And what that does is, according to this, the A times, you want to be right on the fields, right on the food sources. What an A time will look like to you is if the A time falls late in the evening, which these will encode those type days in red. Those are the primary best days. And what that'll entail, that'll be the days when you're riding down the highway and you're looking out in fields and you're just seeing deer everywhere you look. Those are those days. That's when they occur. You know, given that the weather's halfway in line with that. I mean, you wouldn't see that many deer on a really hot day or really muggy day, or maybe the weather's real inclement and wind blowing and howling. You know, that's going to come into play too. But as a general rule, your A day is when the deer are going to be out on those fields, those days that you're going to want to set up right on the major food sources like a cornfield, freshly picked cornfield. In the South, everybody plants their deer field, the green fields, food plots, people call them. You want to be set up on your food plot. Now your B days, your B rating days are more transition area. That's where you're going to be wanting to hunt funnels from the bedding area to the feeding, and that's what, according to this. Now, I'll put my own twist in on that. Well, also, you got a C day, and that's when they hunt directly on the bedding area. Now, the way I've been able to interpret it in all my years of experience of applying this to my local hunting around here in Alabama, the January, early February rut, where we're just hunting so much feeding time. What I see in this, the A days, I see what it says. Deer going to be out on fields. If you catch an A day during the weekend and you're hunting and the gun season's already came in, you're going to hear 25 or 30 shots around you. If you're hunting the B day, maybe 5, C days, usually 0. I mean, it's no doubt what's going on. So, but the timing on it, sometimes you get these A days and it's a 12 o'clock moon time. Now in that situation, you're not going to see deer all out in fields. But if I have an A day at 12 o'clock noon, I'm going to be up a tree, but I'm going to be real close to the bedding areas. What the deer will do when the good day falls at 12 noon, or when the primary feeding time is at 12 o'clock noon, what the deer going to do, they're going to walk out of the thickets. They're going to get to the first acorn tree they get to. Well, they've already fed up during that night, so they're not terribly hungry. I mean, this is all food-based. It's all hunger-based feeding time. So your deer are going to walk out. They're going to get to an acorn tree. They're going to go around that acorn tree 4 or 5 times. If they get a belly full, they'll walk right back in the bedding area. If they don't, they might hit another tree or two. They'll hit those trees right next to the thickets, right back into the bedding area, and come back out that evening. So that's how you want to apply it. Now, when you see the rating as a B day, then that's not going to be quite as good, but you can hunt that same. Anytime it's giving you a major feeding time during the middle of the day, when you're normally not seeing deer out in the middle of fields and everything, you want to hit those fringe area of trees, acorn trees and feeding places. It don't have to be acorns. It can be honeysuckle. It can be American beautyberry. It can be a lot of different things like that. Browse in general. Now, when you've got a C day, that's just a bad day. You're going to have to hunt really close to bedding areas. That's a good time to hunt a place that maybe you don't know what the deer are doing in that area. A good time to just go into a place and kind of do a scout hunt, what I call it. Some of this new public land that I'm hunting, I don't know what the deer are doing in certain areas at certain times, and I'll just waste a C day on those areas. And then, if the wind, it's kind of like a light and variable wind, I'll do the same thing. When the wind is light and variable, I'll hunt a place that I really don't know. If a deer blows at me, well, I know he's giving me a little information. Hey, there's a deer coming from this direction. I'll hunt with that wind next time. So that's kind of how I use the moon guides. I go by them. If it says be up a tree, a major feeding time at 9:30 a.m., I'm going to be up a tree at least by 8:30. If it's noon, a lot of times I'll make an early morning hunt. I may make a hunt until 10 o'clock. If it's a noon feeding time, I may move to a fringe area like I talked about, right on the edge of a bedding area. I may get settled in my stand at 11 o'clock, and 12 noon feeding time, here comes a deer and I've got a quick kill. I mean, that happens over and over and over. And another thing it does for you, some of the days you may have planned to go in at 2 in the evening and set till dark. Well, if it's a 1 o'clock feeding time, you're going to go in and you're going to blow deer out and you're not going to see. You're better off going in at noon and setting up if it's a 1 p.m. feeding time and hunting till 3. Most of the time I found when it's a major feeding time at around 1 to 2, you're probably not going to see any more deer the rest of the day after that major feeding time. It just something about it. They wait till after dark to catch the next feeding time if they feed around 2 p.m. So that's another thing that comes into play. It's just a lot coming into play on this feeding time hunt. But all I can say is if you're not going by one of these and you're hunting in the south where the rut don't come in till January, or a lot of parts of Alabama it's earlier than that, it's around Christmas time, you still got 2 months of nothing but food hunting to do. No rut activity at all. So you got to learn these moon guides, and you gotta go by them. And if you do, you'll have more success. There's no doubt. And like I said, it's a shame that somebody like Adam Hayes, that's probably got most of his kills on the rut, is on this moon guide, because I guarantee it don't mean as much to him as it has to me. Now, one thing I want to add is, you might think when a rut does get here, do I completely ignore the moon guide? No, I don't, because a lot of times a doe, when she's trying to kind of push off a buck's advances, she will bed down, she will lay down because she's safe then. But over time, once she gets hungry, once that primary moon gets there, she's going to get up and want to feed, and that's when that buck's going to get up and start nudging her around. So a lot of times you do see, even during the rut, even though it's not as predictable during the rut, basically tell anybody who wants to kill a big buck, if you want to kill a big buck during the rut, just hunt all day. Just hunt all that you can hunt. But if you're only choosing little snippets of time to hunt, and you're planning your vacation kind of around the rut / moon, you really want to consider the moon again. You want to I've always had those really good days where you're just seeing deer all day. It's usually always during good weather, a primary moon time, and the rut, for big bucks and the rut. So you still want to consider the moon during the rut. You just might not want to consider it as much. If you can hunt all day, hunt all day.